people. Ain't been too many videos lately. I've been extremely busy. But I had this idea and I thought maybe this could help some folks. I figured I'd take a little bit of time this Sunday afternoon before I shut her down for the day and shoot this quick video for y'all. A lot of y'all know, you know, recently I've connected my social media through Facebook with YouTube. I'm pretty active on Facebook. I follow a lot of different motorcycle groups, not just Harley Davidson, Honda Shadow, Yamaha cruiser groups. Those of you who know me know I'm not a real big fan of Kawasaki or Suzuki. I like Suzuki dirt bikes, not so much their street bikes. I have my reasons. I really don't like much of anything Kawasaki makes. I got my reasons. But what we're doing here today is addressing a few things. Because a lot of the Harley Davidson groups I belong to, there's a lot of new Harley Davidson riders out there. And they're all kind of coming up with the same few questions. What's up, Timmy? There's my buddy Timmy. Number one, you got a twin cam, the top end's gonna make noise. That's what they do. There's your oil pressure gauge. If you got oil pressure, you're good. And I'm sure you can hear the valves making noise. That's what twin cams do. There are things you can do to stop it. Aftermarket parts you can add. But one old head said it correct. He says, you think your twin cam's noisy in the top end? Tell me you've never ridden a shovelhead without telling me you've never ridden a shovelhead. You got push rods going up and down, you got rocker arms going up and down, and if you're coming from the metric world, when you hear engine noises like that, it scares the hell out of you. You think your bike's blowing up. I can promise you it is completely normal on a twin cam Harley Davidson. Especially one that's had a little bit of work done. My God, you put a high lift cam in there and they make all kind of noise. Secondly, reliability. Well, I have put 1,500 miles on this bike since May. Everything from back and forth to work, city stop and go driving, to long cruises halfway across the state up in the mountains with me and the missus. I have had no issues. I also took the time, spent the money, and upgraded the cam plate on this bike. A lot of folks are scared of the twin cam, the original twin cam engines. In other words, the TC88 and TC88B. I've talked to enough people who have rode them and owned them that have gotten well over 100,000 miles out of theirs. You got to check the cam chain tensioners. You got to change them when they need changed, or you got to upgrade to a cam plate that has a hydraulic tensioner, which is what I've done. I bought this particular model. It's an ultra classic, which there's only one model higher than this, and that would be the ultra classic limited. And it's got a lot of features. It's your typical touring bike. It's also your typical Harley Davidson. I did not install high lift cams. No performance accessories. It's just a stock 88 with some reliability upgrades in the form of a heavy duty cam plate, high volume oil pump, and hydraulic tensioners. I wanted this bike stock because basically I'm going to ride it for a long time. This is my back and forth to work bike, as I normally call it, my beater bike. My Super Glide is just too noisy. It's rowdy, it's got ape hangers. It's not a commuter bike. I didn't buy it to be a commuter bike. I bought it to ride around this town and show off and enjoy. Rip up the back roads, make some noise, take it to bike night. This machine I bought just to ride and enjoy. Few things you gotta get used to if you're going from a metric bike to a Harley Davidson. Number one, turn signal. See, you push in over there with your thumb, and the turn signal will shut itself off after you make a turn. Oh boy, look at that. Tell me that would not be the ultimate the ultimate garage setup. Man, that's a little teaser. Some of you who know. Yeah, your turn signal. Push with your thumb. Go around the corner, straighten the bike up, turn itself up. My Honda Goldwings did that, and it took quite a while to get used to it. But left turn signal, right turn signal. You're used to, if you're riding metric, you're used to one turn signal switch that goes back and forth. That takes a little bit of time to get used to. It really does. Because simply you're used to reaching for a switch, whereas now you're pushing a button. It's actually a little more convenient. You can turn them back off yourself if you want, and if you want flashers, push them both at the same time. Folks talk about how big and heavy these bikes are. I assure you, if you've ever ridden a 1500 Goldwing, this bike is a lot more nimbler than that. And I'm seeing people going from a Honda Goldwing to one of these twin cam era Harley Davidsons. And the thing you gotta remember is it is just a totally different motorcycle with a totally different feel. Folks talk about they use tractor technology. Yeah, not exactly. Not exactly. It's just different from what you're used to. If you're used to a metric cruiser, this is going to surprise you when you get on one of these. As far as maneuverability in parking lots, I can actually back this thing into a parking spot with Mrs. Phoenix Motorsports on the back of the bike, and that's something I could never do with a Goldwing. I had to use reverse. And my Yamaha Royal Star, that's something I could never do with that. I had to make her get off the bike and barely walk it backwards. It was just too big, too bulky, and every bit as heavy, if not heavier, than this machine here. Now, I have removed the tour pack on the back and just gone with a small sissy bar. We don't really take long trips. If we do, we're back in a day. So the saddlebags carry ample, whatever, some drinks, some tools, a little sunscreen for the missus. She burns very easily. I guess what I'm here to tell you guys is, if you want to make the plunge, go ahead and do it. You're finding these twin cam era touring bikes, especially the 88 series, very cheap. So many folks are afraid of them because of the cam chain tensioner issue. I have seen them sell as cheap as $3,500. Now those ones are generally worn out, but spend a little more, find one that looks like it hasn't been beat on, and add a little bit of money into your budget to do your cam chain tensioner upgrade. And you'll have a machine that is every bit as reliable as a metric machine. It'll do everything a metric machine does. And they do that. We can talk about performance all day. I have found that unless you want to ride like a complete total idiot, the 88 has more than enough performance to do anything you want to do. I am a large man, as you can tell by the videos, 275 pounds. This bike throws me around like nothing. My Evo, my Super Glide, yeah, it'll embarrass it, but that bike's built. The engine's done up. You know, it's built to be a rocket ship. This is not. The engine gets hot. You're gonna feel it. I dropped a short video about the heat shields that I've added. I would highly recommend throwing a set on your bike. I would highly recommend buying a good set from a company like Hogworks or even the Harley Davidson ones. Do the cheap ones work? Yes, absolutely. They work great. but like I said, mine required a little bit of fitment issues. That's about as nimble as you need a motorcycle to be. Remembering I've only put 1,500 miles on this bike, I'm not exactly used to it yet. This model is fuel injected. I'm not the biggest proponent of fuel injection, simply because I like carburetors. I am one of the few that understand the wizardry that is a carburetor. There's not that much to it. It's not that complicated if you understand simple mechanics. Well, a little more digging and researching, I have found that the fuel injection system used on these bikes is it's just about as simple. You just do it differently, you know. The bugger of it is I can't just adjust something with a screwdriver. I actually have to buy a connector for my laptop and a tuner, which they can range anywhere from $175 to $1,000 depending on what you want to do. In general, if you're just going to put some slip-on mufflers like this has, it's not factory exhaust, it's just slip-on mufflers. It's a little bit loud, but it's not belligerent. You really don't got to do nothing but bolt them on there. You want to change the air cleaner, put in a bigger cam, maybe some high compression pistons. Yes, you're going to need a tuner. They have what they call a canned tune, where you basically just plug it and play. And they're really close. They're not perfect, but they're very close. If you got a shop that does dyno tuning, by all means, hit them up, let them do it. We're going to see over the winter. I really don't want to hot rod this bike out. I just want to enjoy it. I've spent most of my life being dirt-ass poor and working on my own bikes just to keep them running so that I had something to ride. And for the first time in my life, I don't have to do that. And my God, it's a Harley Davidson. 2 of them, actually. And I don't got to work on them. They don't leak a drip of oil. That is a myth from the past. If the Harley Davidson's leaking oil, something is wrong with it. Fix it. Period. That's how that works. Actually, every Honda Shadow I've had leaked oil at the shifter shaft. They all do it. Sorry, Honda guys. They leak oil. They do. Goldwings are notorious for leaking oil at the shifter shaft as well. Now, when you change the oil in your Harley Davidson, you are going to want to spend some money and get some good synthetic oil. It is an air-cooled engine. Hot days like this, it is going to get hot. I was never a big believer in synthetic. My thoughts have changed on that a little bit as I have done more research. And the synthetic holds up to the heat much better. So, yeah, you might want to run synthetic. I've got Valvoline 2050 full synthetic in this. It's generally what you want to run. There's so many accessories, there's so many add-on things. You can completely build a Harley Davidson clone from aftermarket parts. It's not going to be Harley Davidson because, well, it's all aftermarket parts. But any part for this engine or any part of this bike, you can buy. If you cannot get it because Harley Davidson doesn't make it anymore, you can get it on the aftermarket. You cannot say the same for a Honda Shadow. Honda Goldwings have a cult following, so the aftermarket has followed them, and you got a pretty good chance of finding what you need on the aftermarket for a Goldwing. But there are certain things you will not find. You will not find a brand new factory clutch basket for a Goldwing. And if you put enough miles on it and ride it hard, you're going to tear the clutch basket up. You can find 5 different manufacturers of aftermarket clutch baskets that will fit right on this bike. In general, a Harley Davidson is what I consider a forever machine. You can keep it forever, and you can rebuild it and rebuild it and rebuild it. If you can't rebuild the engine because you have beat the dog crap out of it and thrown a rod through the block, you can buy a new engine case or a complete new engine that will just bolt right into your bike. Now, you can't say that with a Honda Shadow now, can you? The Chinese have cloned the Yamaha Virago engine, so that has happened. But honestly, that's the only metric engine I know of that's been cloned. and it's a Chinese clone. It's not a good one. Companies like S&S produce a high quality replacement engine for this bike. Honestly, by the way, honestly, higher quality than Harley Davidson. S&S builds great stuff. We've got S&S lifters. What the hell is that? Somebody ran over a road plate. I've got S&S lifters in this bike. And like I said, the modifications I've done to the engine are all for reliability. This bike was never intended to go fast for me. This is a comfortable touring bike that I ride back and forth to work. And I take long rides on beautiful days like today. Me and Mrs. Phoenix Motorsports went all the way out to Connellsville today. Rode along the Youghiogheny River Trail. Through all little small towns just to check stuff out and enjoy it. And as far as a daily commuter, it does just fine. Fuel injection means you really don't got to warm it up. A stock engine with stock compression and synthetic oil doesn't need to be warmed up like my Evolution engine does. That's carbureted. It's got high compression pistons, high lift cams, aftermarket carburetor. She's built, boy. She screams. But you got to warm it up real good. It takes about 5 minutes in the morning when she's stone cold before you want to get on it and start ripping. This thing, about 30-45 seconds, let all the sensors do what they got to do, sniff the air, and you can just jump on it and run down the road. That is more convenient than my Goldwing was. My Goldwing was carbureted. It took a while to warm up. My Yamaha Royal Star was carbureted. It took a while to warm up. But like I said, things you need to get used to when switching from metric to Harley Davidson. Number one, the turn signals. Number two, the brakes. They are not inferior brakes. They work quite well, actually. The difference is how you apply them. In general, on a motorcycle, 70% of your braking comes from your front. On a Harley Davidson, you're going to reach for the rear brake pedal more. You'll lock up that front and just push it down the road, whereas you can pretty much stomp that rear pretty heavy. And that's simply because the weight bias of the bike, especially on these touring models, is a little more towards the rear. So obviously you're going to use the rear brake a little heavier. My Evo sounds so much better going under there. Go ahead, buddy. And if you're watching my channel, you come here, especially if you've come here from the pilot video that I do. I talk about buying these used bikes and bringing it back to life, mainly metric bikes, this, that, and the third. I'm still interested in doing that, and I will be doing that soon here. But after the year we have had, I pretty much am just enjoying my life, enjoying myself, and riding motorcycles with my buddies and the missus, because that is what we like to do. They have low-end power, but especially if you're riding a twin-cam aero bike, they have a shorter stroke than the Evolution Series engine. They like to be revved. They don't like to be locked below 2,000 RPM. Got the 5-speed transmission on this. When you understand that the engine likes to be revved, it will not hurt it to run 4,000 or 5,000 RPMs all day long. You will understand that you do not necessarily need the 6-speed. Is it nice? Sure. I don't know about you, but the interstates around me, 70 miles an hour is your speed limit. And if you're cranking along at 70, you're cranking along at about 2,700 RPM, which is essentially where this engine was designed to run all day. So if you've got an older Evolution that likes to turn a little slower because it's got a longer stroke throw in the crank, yeah, I can understand wanting a 6-speed. I'm not trying to talk you into buying a TC88 bike. I'm trying to dispel some of the bull crap that a lot of the online forums have on them, and get people to understand that it's really not what you think it is. It's not a piece of junk. Do they require a little bit of extra maintenance? Yeah. You got to look at your primary chain in the wintertime when you're down. Unless you do the cam chain tensioner upgrade, you're going to want to, every 20-30,000 miles, open the engine up and have a look-see at all that. You do the cam chain tensioner upgrade, yeah, my buddy Crazy Lou has got 175,000 miles on his bike, and it is still running the original clutch, believe it or not. Crazy Lou is very gentle on his equipment. He takes really good care of it, keeps clean oil in it. He is a retired technical school teacher. He's also a machinist and a mechanic. He got me my start into working on bikes and actually wanting to do this for a living, which, as you know, I don't, but it's changing. He was always a proponent of Harley Davidson, and I rode a Honda back then. He gave me a little bit of crap for it. Which down street is it? Yeah, hopefully I've answered some of y'all questions. I mean, there's so much more I can get into that the difference in the two. Kind of seems like people either absolutely love or hate Harley Davidson, and I don't see any reason for the hate. I really don't. I mean, how can you hate that sound right there? Blah. As I said, the reliability is there, but you got to take care of your bike. You can buy a brand new Honda and you beat the dog crap out of it, and you don't change none of your fluids, you don't ever adjust your chain, you just beat the dog crap out of it. Guess what? It's going to break down on you. I promise you it will. Anything will. And a lot of people are missing a big opportunity by passing up on some of these early TC bikes that are selling reasonable. I mean, $5,000, $6,000 and you can have yourself a really clean ride. It'll be reliable, do everything you want it to do, and it'll sound good. Now, hardcore Harley guys that are into it and they think a 103 is slow, you need a new Milwaukee 8. Hey man, if that's your thing, right on, I got you. But as you know, this channel has always been a budget-based channel. And I look at it this way, the reason that I had so many old bikes that I was always working on is because, well, back then I couldn't afford a new bike. I just couldn't do it. Couldn't swing a payment, didn't have credit, etc., etc. Now I can, and I still do this. It's just the quality of my bikes has gone way up. As well as the fact that I thoroughly enjoy working a 40 to the most 45-hour week, paying my bills and, well, having a good bit of extra money to play with. Now you add in a $300 bike payment on top of that and about 10 grand down, you got that extra thing to think about. And I enjoy working on them as much as I enjoy riding them. So if you are thinking about taking the plunge and switching to the black and orange, by God, give it a shot. If you're expecting something with drag racing performance, it's going to fly and never hear any tick-ticking noise from the engine and not feel vibration, which, by the way, these twin cams really don't vibrate. Some folks will say they do. Well, tell me you've never ridden a shovelhead without telling me you've never ridden a shovelhead. This bike does not vibrate any harder. Maybe at idle, but once underway, no harder than my Honda VTX 1300 did. I have had other Harley Davidsons that I've used like this on a daily ride basis, But I wasn't making YouTube videos back then, and when I was talking about firearms and not motorcycles. One of the best ones was the Harley Davidson Sportster. I had the 1200 series. It was old, it was a 1996. 1200 series Evolution Sportster, 5-speed. Back then I was over 300 pounds. That sucker took me anywhere I wanted to go, and if I wanted to go 75 down the highway, I could do it. Let me tell you, that engine was screaming for mercy. She only go about 100, and ow! Because she's crying for another gear that it didn't have. And I was physically too large for it. But I rode that bike for about 6 months. I didn't even have a car at that period. I didn't. I had a Harley Davidson Sportster, and it was reliable enough for me that I rode it back and forth to work. I threw a book bag on when I needed groceries, that type of deal. And I loved that machine. It was a great machine. I should have kept it. I have many stories like that about bikes that I should have kept and didn't. Well, I learned my lesson on that. So you do you. Do what you want. If you want to buy one of these brand new Harleys, by all means, go ahead. I'd never tell anyone not to. But if you're just a casual rider or a shade tree mechanic like myself, you like taking on projects, and you got between $3 and $5 grand to spend, give one of these old twin cam touring bikes a second look. And you can actually, if you dig the Dyna series, you can actually get into one cheaper than that. I have seen Dynas in the early twin cam days sell for $2,000, $2,500. My thing with that is when you buy one of those used, especially at a low price, it's usually priced low for a reason. Dynas get their guts kicked in. People beat the crap out of Harley Davidson Dynas. We just do. And if you're buying a higher mileage one, unless you're buying it from an old feller that took care of it, you're going to buy one that's had some hard miles, and you might have problems. In general, the touring bikes, it's really not something you can beat the crap out of. It's more of a sit-back cruise, long trips back and forth to work. And generally, you know, when the bike's new, like when this bike was new, it sold for like 23 grand or something. You pay that much, and now we're talking back then, even now, 35 grand or so for the same model, brand new. When you spend that much money on something, you're going to take care of it, you're going to change the oil when it needs it, all that, okay? But if you're just buying an old Honda Shadow or an old Honda Goldwing, especially one that's been through the rounds, I just don't take care of them bikes. Trust me, I'm a motorcycle mechanic. It's a hobby, and pretty soon here is the second job. But they just don't, and this is most of the problems I run into on the older bikes that I fool with, is just guys have not taken care of them. Alright, shut her down. Second thing that's weird to get used to on a Harley. Most of your bikes, your keys stay in the ignition. Now, depending on how new your Harley is, this one has a security system. It has been disabled, as you can see by the little red light that pops up there. On a Harley, you got a steering lock. Push down, well, cut your wheels all the way like that. Push down, turn left, locks your steering, okay? But right now, you could just fire this bike up and leave. You don't need a key. You actually physically have to lock the ignition like this. Well, and you got to put it in steering lock mode for that to work. See, talking out of my butt. Put it in steering lock mode. Okay, we're locked. And then you can physically lock the ignition. Take your key out. And you're locked up safe and tight. But say, like, for me, it's in a locked garage. So I'll just leave it like that because my garage is locked up. That's the other thing to get used to. And like I said, the turn signals are funky. The brakes, you know, your instinct is to grab a hold of front brake. You really don't want to do that. You're going to use both brakes on a Harley. And you're going to be favoring the rear a little more. They do run like a tractor, low RPM, but it's a low RPM motor. You could just keep it over 2,000. You should be fine. My Dyna doesn't give a shit. It's a built Evo. Wherever you're at in the RPM, you twist the throttle and it wants to lift the front end and go. This is a stock TC88. It's not going to do that. Alright, I will catch you guys later. I got some stuff to do. I'm going to throw this video up. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. And like I said, if you're thinking about taking the plunge and getting into a one of these older bikes that people don't seem to want, the TC88 series bike, go ahead and do it. Don't be afraid. What's the worst that can happen? It breaks down, you gotta fix it. And if that happens, find me on social media, dude. I just talked to like 3 people over over the weekend that had problems with their bikes that have messaged me, and I've literally got on the phone with them and talked them through fixing their stuff. This is what I do. What makes me happiest in the world is to get out there and ride, and to see people get out there and ride and live their dream. So that's what this is all about. Like I said, like, subscribe, find me on Facebook if you want to chit chat, man. Phoenix Motorsports, also known as Kevin6154. I'm out.